Hi, good evening, folks. Welcome to this week's edition and episode of the Minority Report. I'm Ireland David, your host, and we are back another Tuesday evening, and we are in your living room, we are in your home, we're in your household. We are here with you. We've been with you for the past almost 4 years, and we are not easing up on our commitment to simply come and reason together. Even the Bible says to us that, you know, as brethren, as colleagues, it is always good to sit and reason together. And so we take this commitment and this task extremely seriously every week, so that we can come and sit with you, have conversations, provide you with the necessary information that is needed for you to make informed decisions and informed choices. And there are a number of choices that are going to be upon us very, very shortly, but we're going to get back into that later in the program. If you are viewing with us this evening, you can look at this program on the Tobago Updates website. You can view it on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, the platform that many of you choose to use because it gives you the opportunity to interact with us on the Facebook Live. That's the Facebook page. And for those of you who are viewing at home, you're subscribed to the AMPLIA network. You can turn your television to channel 102. Yes, that's channel 102. And you can sit in the comfort of your living room, bring your family together, get the kids up and running, and view the program. New to the platforms, however, we have those who are Flow subscribers, and we heard your cries. Many persons were saying that, you know, they are subscribed to networks that they can't see the program on. And we did in fact hear, now we are available on Flow, number 121 Hub TV and number 130 AVS. Yet again, number 121 Hub TV, number 130 AVS TV. And for those who are subscribed to the Flow network, we have made it very, very possible for you to view this program live. And so I want to encourage those of you who are logged on. Tonight's program is going to be, a fantastic one, just as many others. A lot of information packaged, a lot of things has been happening in Tobago, in Trinidad and Tobago, even the region. And we want to be able to ventilate a number of those things and issues and talking points, conversation points tonight, so that by the end of the program, we all leave very, very informed. And so we're going to go right into our program in a short while. But before I do so, I want to take the opportunity to just welcome my guests with me in studio who are ready, reared up, long day, but still very, very functional. I don't know how long. I don't know if this may be a special program. The director may grant us some extra time. We don't know. As the program goes along, we'll see. But Minority Councillor, always a pleasure having you on the program with us.
Yes, good evening, Marlon. Good evening, Senator Lawrence. Good evening to the Minority Leader who will be joining us. Good evening to Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and everyone tuned in to the Minority Report today. The bell has rung.
Wow. We're not talking about lunch.
Ring, ting, ting.
School bell.
We're not talking about the school bell for lunch.
The election bell has rung. Yeah. Excitement in the air.
Excitement.
It's always a pleasure to be on the Minority Report. Remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Senator Hislop, how are you?
Good evening, Maryland. Good evening, Minority Councillor. Good evening, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago. It is indeed good to be here. As the Minority Councillor said, the bell has rung. Winfried, no, as made popular by our former Prime Minister, Winfried. No, it is really good to be here. Good night, everyone. Hope we have a wonderful session this evening.
Yes. And indeed, the bell has rung. We're going to be getting into a lot of discussion about that bell, folks, later in the program. However, before we actually do so, there are a number of things that we've seen taking place. Let's say just in the last week, it's been a real environment of excitement for us right here in Tobago, if I can begin there. Not just excitement for what could have been seen, but for the historic nature of the events that we saw unfolding over the weekend. On Saturday, we saw the historic, I must say, opening or the historic commissioning, so to speak, of the new, and I add, spanking new international standard airport facility right here in Tobago, the A&R Robinson International Airport. And truly, the word international is now reflected in what we would have seen happening over the weekend. Before we actually get into the views and the photos and the video clips and so on of it, just share with us a bit of what do you think this means to you as a person, and by extension, Tobago at large. We've seen a lot of emotions by some strange people even.
For me, it was definitely a proud moment. As a Tobagonian, I was beaming with pride, beaming with joy, and this has been a project. I think it went as far back as Mr. Manning, or even before that, discussions. And to see that this project materialized to the point where we had the partial completion and handing over from the contractor to the government. We did the tour of the facility, and it is a first-class facility. From the check-in to the security checkpoints to the waiting areas. And what was really good about the ceremony on Saturday was you actually got a glimpse into how it would function, because at the check-in areas for the airlines, different airlines, you saw where Cal had their agents. Then when you went to the security checkpoints, there were airport authority security there, and they gave demonstrations of, how the checkpoints will function. And it was just a very proud moment. The hotel, the airport, was built such that it not only caters for us now, but for future generations. We saw there were two air bridges, and based on the tour, they were advising that there's a capacity to have additional air bridges if it so requires. So it was really a state of the art, and I was happy to be a part of that moment. And this was really a legacy project, of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, our former Prime Minister. And, we want to commend him. We want to commend him for his leadership. We want to commend him for his strong dedication to this, because we know it was surrounded and mired by, a lot of
contention and
to see it come to this point, great commendation.
Senator Islop.
I'm proud. I'm a proud Tobagonian. I'm proud of the work or the commitment shown by Dr. Rowley, especially on this project. Even over his tenure as Prime Minister, the significant work that he would have done for Tobago. But when we speak to this project is truly a game changer for Tobago, because it adds significant value to our infrastructure, to our infrastructure product on the island, as it relates to air transport and tourism. And so for all the years prior that airlines and tour operators would be sharing concerns about our facilities at the current terminal building, I think that we have we've leaped and bounds ahead of where we were in terms of the quality of the infrastructure, in terms of the capacity, and in terms of future prospects as it relates to this terminal. And I even saw this morning that the Airports Authority just sent out a notice for persons who are desirous of providing. So they have a couple of packages that they're putting out for the installation, the supply and installation of office furniture and kiosks and so on. So it means that the work continues, but the government was able to take control or take ownership of this building from the contractor, because the majority of the construction work is complete. And I really want to thank all the individuals that were involved in this project, from designers to your tradesmen, contractors, your laborers, every single person, and every Tobagonian who was able to be part of the actual construction of this terminal building. I think it augurs well for us as an island on the way forward. We know there are other areas that have to be built out, because we keep hearing that we need the quality room stock in order to attract the necessary visitors to the island. But this over $1 billion investment made, not only in Tobago but in Trinidad and Tobago, because truth be told, once the economy of Tobago is doing well, then it augurs well for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
And tourism, as fragile and as volatile as it may be, it is still an industry that is needed, that has proven itself throughout the Caribbean that it can generate revenue for countries. There are countries within within the Caribbean that depend on tourism and have been functioning well on tourism, and so it is not something to be overlooked, but it is for us to build on what we have, the natural resources and the drive and the passion of the people, build on that, so that our product could be one that we're proud of, and that it can bring revenue, additional revenue to the country. And so as a Tobagonian, I am really proud as the MP for Tobago West, and even the speech band. One of the speech band persons said it. I am filled with philanthropic joy over what we've received, and look forward to the full operationalization of the terminal that will add significant value to Tobago.
I mean, amongst other things, we saw a number of business persons. This is what jumped out to me instantly when you looked at the cross section of the crowd. It was all Tobagonians represented.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, from children all the way up to seniors, to public officers, to public servants, to private citizens, to business people, church members, and I think it was indeed a moment where everybody felt a part, as if you had a hand, like if everybody got the opportunity to lay one brick. and we saw, and some of the footage as well, a very, very outspoken business person in Tobago, really becoming very emotional even at the fact that the what was promised to Tobago had actually materialized, and materialized way beyond expectations. I know you guys would have spoken to it, and I also know that Senator Hislop, you and I would have had these conversations, where we would have come from in terms of airport facilities and terminals, and which were the original planes and these kind of things, and to see where, and you will speak to it a bit, because I know that is going to bring back to remembrance a lot of things for a lot of viewers, where we came from that little area there, and planes that would be,
no,
for me, I would want to travel in to where we are now.
The truth is, the research would tell you that from 1940, when Tobago would have been the colonial government would have set up a landing strip. The landing strip was, I think, was about 2,500 or something there, 2,500 feet. I can't remember the exact measurement, but it was a grass strip. And in speaking to some of the older drivers at the airport, they'll tell you that those are the days that they used to actually go straight to the step of the plane to meet the passengers and to solicit the passengers. And so we moved from a grass strip to the 80s, where we currently house. That terminal building was actually started by George Michael Chambers, and then it was opened by Ian R. Robinson. And so there you go. That was it.
That
was the original terminal building in the 1940s. And the planes, according to one friend of mine, Captain Cook, who is the oldest surviving taxi driver in Tobago from the airport. He's 92, I think he is. He's no longer there. The last time he worked there was like about 2 years ago, and he said it was one flight per day. During those days, landing strip out of grass, your Avro planes. That was the terminal back in those days, and it developed into what we currently use, and then it was expanded again some years back, and now we are raring and ready to go. I heard a couple friends of mine say they can't wait to pull the suitcase through the terminal, because it gives you a true sense of pride, an international kind of feel once you get into that place, and to see where we came from as an island, and so many promises would have been made, so many plans would have been put in place, and to see it actually come into fruition.
Correct.
Under the guidance of Dr. Rowley, I think says a lot about who he is, that his vision for Tobago was one way Tobago can even add more value to the national economy, that Tobagonians can have a sense of pride, or more pride, in where we live, and what we're able to offer to the world. And so, as I said, I am really proud. I feel a lot of pride when it comes to where we were as an island in terms of aviation, in terms of air transport, and in terms of airport facilities, to what we have now. It says a lot. It says a lot about the commitment that the government has and had in seeing Tobago excel.
Minority Councillor, I don't know if you were around as long as Senator Hislop to identify those planes.
No, I wasn't around in 1940. I'm just saying. I'm just recollecting what was shared. I could have been around the days of Air Caribbean and those. Yeah, come on.
No, what stood out from some of the remarks from Saturday was first impression last. And we want to attract a certain type of visitor to the island. And, there has been complaints about, the standard of our current facility, not having a VIP lounge and stuff like that. Well, an appropriate one at that. And I think what this does is give that first impression. So when a tourist arrives, there's that welcoming look to where they will be staying. And, you know, we have the infrastructure in place. So now we also have to have the service, the customer service that goes hand in hand with the look and feel of the place. And we were discussing this last week. We also now need to attract a brand hotel that is of a particular standard that can attract persons sitting at the front of the plane. And Dr. Rowley would have alluded to this on Saturday as well, that Sandals
big announcement,
you know, coming back to the table to have discussions. And I think that provides hope. That will be a significant game changer in terms of, you know, the tourism sector on the island. We have seen where brands like Sandals and Sandals have been game changers to different Caribbean territories, and the very recent one being St. Vincent. Every time the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, you know, has the opportunity to, he laughs as well as thanks Tobago for giving them the opportunity to have that Sandals. And we have seen where Sandals has been a game changer in that territory, in that country, and in several other countries throughout the Caribbean. So if we have an opportunity to welcome Sandals, I hope that we do it with open arms to help in promoting and advancing the tourism sector on the island. And of course, not only Sandals will benefit, but
all our hospitality,
our plants,
hotels,
the smaller plants, the hotels, the bread and breakfast, the taxi drivers, the tour guides, you know, the practitioners in terms of culture and the arts, farmers. Yes, there will be a ripple effect in terms of multiplier beneficial effect to different sectors.
And before Senator Isla probably adds to that, I'll ask the director just to cue up the clip of that announcement for persons who may not have heard it firsthand. Senator Isla, you want to add to what?
No. I think there's a proven, you know, the persons pull out one or a couple incidents with maybe the brand in some of the territories that there may have been some challenges, but that's business across the board. But outside of maybe those challenges, any territory that the Sandals brand entered benefited from it being there. And as Dr. Rowley rightly said on Saturday, if it is good for Barbados and Grenada and St. Lucia and Jamaica, why is it not good for Tobago? And the thing about it is there is room throughout the tourism sector for every type of tourism. And so the areas the persons who are interested in your village tourism and your those who do backpacking and so on, there's space for that. There's space for your eco, but there is a large cadre of people that look just for a resort. And a lot of those persons would come from your North American markets that for the longest while. And I know Minority Council who has been in and around your airlift and all of those things. That's an area that Tobago has been trying to break into and has been unsuccessful over the years. And I think the major reason for that, and I'm sure the major reason for that, is that you don't have a branded resort on this island. Because the North American traveler is a brand traveler. They like to travel to resorts that they know, resorts that they're familiar with, resorts that are US in their base. So they'll travel to your Hyatt and your Hilton and your Marriott and so on. And then obviously they'll do your Sandals, because Sandals is a tried and tested brand for the North American traveler. They've done it in all of the locations where Sandal is. And so we really and truly, and I think it is Mr. George who said that the mindset, and I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we have in Tobago. It is that the mindset has to change, because again, I hear the member for Roxburgh making the point that he supports Sanders, but it has to have high-paying jobs for Tobagonians. And the truth is, what prevents a Tobagonian from being a manager or a department head or a head chef? There's nothing that prevents a Tobagonian from taking, because there are Tobagonians who have senior positions at other Sandals resorts in the Caribbean.
Correct.
And so what prevents a Tobagonian from taking up that role in a Sandals or a Beaches resort in his home island? Nothing. Once you have the training and the experience and the qualifications, you can be the general manager of the Sandals Tobago or the Beaches Tobago. You can be the head chef. You can be the head of housekeeping. And again, the point is made, we need to stop seeing service, quality service, as servitude.
Correct.
Service, quality service is not servitude. You are doing your job to the best of your ability. You are marketing your island. You and whether you want to knock the job of a bellboy, that's honest day's work. Honest day's work you're making. And you might be surprised that some of these bellboys may be actually making more money than some of us.
Yes, correct.
Because when you talk about tips, we downplay these things and look down. It is honest work. And there's absolutely nothing wrong in being a gardener. Absolutely nothing wrong in being a bellboy. Absolutely nothing wrong in being a housekeeper. Because there are people on this island who have worked in the hotel sector and have worked in these positions and have excelled at these positions and have given good service, excellent service to the benefit of themselves, their family, and their island. And we need to get away from that talk that you're looking down at somebody because they hold what you may consider a menial position. Because I remember that there's one of the guys I know very well who was in and around the hotel business when I think it was the Italians that owned Mount Irving and so on. And these guys will tell you that there were months when the hotel was rocking, there were months they would not even touch their salary because they were living off a tip and service charge. They would not even touch their salary. And some of these men built their lives working in the hotel sector, built homes, bought vehicles, send their children to school. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with working in the service sector and working to the best of your ability, giving your best every day and succeeding at it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I'll ask the director to cue that clip up for us of that announcement that I sent today with Dr. Rowley on Saturday.
The Sandals people, on invitation of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, had looked at Tobago and had agreed that Tobago was a place that they could invest. But we chased them away, accused them of all manner of evil, tell lie on them, try to embarrass them, try to damage their product. The bottom line is they left us. But I didn't give up. After all that, recently, I spoke to the leadership at Sandals and I asked them to come look at us again. And if I was the problem, I wouldn't be there tomorrow.
So folks, for those who were not physically there and were unable to see it, this is the actual footage of the announcement made. And again, Dr. Rowley in fine style, adding another surprise to the table in his outgoing messages. I think that is it was welcomed. We heard the uproar in those who were present, or from those that were present, and we do in fact look forward to those negotiations being rehashed. We saw.
But moderator, even before you wrap up there, and there was a clarion call by the head of the Tobago Chamber for that to happen.
Yeah.
Because there is an understanding that if a product of the magnitude of Sandals returns to Tobago, is injected into the economy of Tobago, what it will do for the island. And so this was not just about the Prime Minister making an announcement, and we're really happy that that conversation has restarted or continued. But this was about the business chamber saying, listen, we need a product of that magnitude that can attract the necessary visitors that you require to the island for economic development, for economic growth, and for the airport that was built, for it to be really put to use for the purpose that it was built for.
Yeah. And I remember while we were doing last year, I think it was, we brought the motion for the Tobago House of Assembly to, reconsider. And have the conversation so that standards will return. And in the research, we could have seen where sandals in a territory contributed to the growth of tourism in the territory, as well as economic growth. Because when we looked at several territories that sandals were in, and again, pointing out St. Vincent because that was the most recent one in particular. Before Sandals opened, they had promised to provide 800 jobs. Upon opening, it was over 1,000 jobs. Yeah. When you look at the salaries for the different types of employees at Sandals, when you compare them to the salaries in the public service, the lowest salary that was paid by someone being employed by Sandals was equivalent to that of a Clerk 1 in the public service. So if you want to compare in terms of salaries, private sector, public sector, there's an opportunity for growth. There's an opportunity for advancement. You also looked at airlifts to the destination. Prior to Sandals, JetBlue, American Airlines, you name it, a number of those airlines were not flying to the destination.
Had no interest.
But when Sandals came to that destination, you saw them coming once and twice and sometimes 3 times for the week. Yeah. That was not there prior to Sandals. Yep. So when you look at the destinations and you do the research, there's a direct link between the growth in the sector, growth in the economy, and advancement for the people.
Yeah, and that's a fact, because I could guarantee you, because the evidence is there. Yeah. You think that airport ain't see work yet? You introduce a product like Sandals, Marriott, you name it, into Tobago, and you see the buzz that airport is gonna have. Because you go to any other territory in the region, and the airports are filled. Yeah. The airlines coming and going. I remember that I was told that in Barbados is supposed to, for just one.
I was just going to
for just one airline alone, Virgin Atlantic. Virgin Atlantic has almost 3 flights daily into Barbados. Yeah. Just imagine one airline with 3 flights, the capacity of over 300 people per day. So that's what? Right. That's over 1,000 people from one airline alone.
And the mere fact that they are coming here.
For one airline alone, we're not considering BA that comes in maybe the same amount of time. You're not considering JetBlue. You're not considering Air Canada, Caribbean. Let's just take one airline. That's close to 1,000 or 1,000 plus people daily coming into a territory, coming with spend. I hear people talking about that we don't need hotels. What we need is a cruise ship port. And that tells you the understanding that people have of the tourism product. There is space for that. Yeah. But a cruise ship traveler, when you compare a cruise ship traveler spend versus the spend of a stayover passenger, it's chalk and cheese. Because you're talking about a stayover passenger whose minimum stayover is what, 7 days, sometimes 14 days. Yeah. And you want to compare that.
Transportation.
You want to compare that with a cruise ship passenger, which is 1 day. And in some instances, the majority of them don't come off the ship. when you come, when the plane lands, you have to come off. You're coming off because you come to spend 7 days, 14 days in a hotel to see the island.
Correct.
To go to your restaurants night in, night out. You may eat at a restaurant twice. Even if you stay in the hotel, the workers in there, tips from, come on, there is chalk and cheese. And as I said, there is room for every avenue in the market. Cruise, your stayovers, your backpackers, your eco tourists, there's room. But I don't know why we are afraid. I don't know if we're afraid of being profitable and prosperous in Tobago from a tourism standpoint. I don't know.
I mean, it's so much that can be said with respect to this opening. And I mean, we're looking at some of the footage on the tour of the facility. A lot of excitement, persons scampering left, right, and center. And I mean, words cannot really describe the feeling and the fact of looking at this level of facility right here in Tobago. And when you travel to a lot of the other islands, and I want to encourage many of the naysayers to travel just around the Caribbean and see other islands and what they have compared to what we just got.
I don't know if much of them who naysayers travel.
And that's my point. A lot of the naysayers don't travel. They've never gone further than Trinidad. But get around a bit and see our neighbors, and they're doing much better than us with respect to airlift. But we have gotten this facility, and so it speaks volumes to anyone that seeks to oppose and to look for all sorts of foolish, deflective conversations to simply get away from saying that our job well done. You know, and
I show no door that was supposed to cost $800. Cost 8,000, eh?
8,000. Correct is right.
Just say.
I mean, as we're coming out of this conversation, and I'm glad this is the footage that we're seeing up. I want us it would be remiss of me if we didn't speak to the legacy of this gentleman. I mean, what again can be said of Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley that has not been manifested in the decisions that he has made, in the leadership that he has provided, not only for us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and the Bible says that a prophet is without honor in his own home. And very recently, last month, we saw the CARICOM Heads of Government Forum, where Dr. Rowley's tenure and his leadership was not only celebrated, but was literally revered. To the extent where at the closing ceremony, when every leader had the opportunity to speak, and they stood, he was instructed to remain seated. And it was said to the tune of, "This is our time to honor you." And we heard almost every Caribbean leader speak to their relationship with Dr. Rowley. Those who had long-standing relationships, those who had now gotten to know him, those who feared his demeanor and said that, listen, this man is made of stone, and through interaction came to a different opinion, and we saw all of the Caribbean. Now, this is on the cusp of seeing the world recognize him for leadership coming out of COVID, and I'll push us even that far back. A global recognition. We saw a university abroad recognizing his contribution to humanity's improvement, even giving him the honorary title, and so many entities that are totally unrelated to us here in Trinidad and Tobago have stepped up to the plate to honor the legacy of Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And, you know, I just want us to regardless of where you sit regardless of what color you wear, the evidence is too pronounced not to have the same verdict.
No, Dr. Rowley is truly a leader phenomenal. Where have you seen in the Caribbean, in the region, worldwide, that a leader steps away from office while in office? He didn't die in office. He wasn't
Sick.
severely ill that
Yes.
he couldn't continue to perform his function, but he walked away being the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago after 10 years. It takes a man with a different kind of mettle and character to leave that type of power behind. And one of the things that he always says, that he will tell his cabinet ministers and his colleagues, do not fall in love with office. And his actions were true testament, and he basically would have lived out his mantra.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because, you know, we sat there or we stood there on Sunday, and I was, you know, close to some persons who would have worked, like I was standing near to some persons who would have worked very closely with him. And one individual actually, when he made his last, you know, entrance on the stage to give his presentation, she actually broke down. Like, I looked at her and I'm like, are you okay? And, you know, she just shook her head. All I could have done was given her a hug, and she just literally broke down. And this is no easy feat for someone. And then you speak to how he dealt with COVID.
Yes.
You know, his leadership,
Global recognition to that.
how he managed COVID, and, you know, how he basically assisted with preserving lives and livelihood.
Yeah.
The major and the decisions, the very hard decisions that other leaders could not or were not able to make, Dr. Rowley was strong enough to make those decisions. And, you know, his legacy is one that will live on. His leadership, his strength, his dedication, his love for his island, Tobago. I don't think anybody could, although they claim, could dig up his navel string and move it anywhere.
Small talk.
Dr. Rowley is one prime minister that has demonstrated his love for Tobago, the development, the major development on the island. I don't think there was any other prime minister
Correct.
who would have contributed such significant major developments on the island of Tobago.
Yeah.
Police station, hospital, fire station, new airport. A road was supposed to go with that airport.
The marina that was supposed to,
Marina.
Supposed to go.
the hotel.
Hotel.
Dr. Rowley, we thank you for your leadership. We thank you for your contribution.
This is a prayer you're breaking today, yes?
No, we thank you for your strength. We thank you for your will. And we appreciate you. We love and appreciate you.
Truly. Senator.
I think words
Yeah.
words cannot truly express how I feel about Dr. Rowley. And it's not to say that I always tell people like to refer to him as my persons who talk to me privately would always say a friend. And I always say Dr. Rowley is not my friend. Dr. Rowley is my boss. And I want to thank him. I think I said it on another medium, but I want to thank him for taking a chance taking a chance on me, just plucking me out of the we want to say nowhere.
Mary Clay.
Yeah. No, not the Mary Clay. Only one person can pluck you out of the Mary Clay, brother. But for literally taking a chance on me and placing me in a position that has seen me serve my country at a very high level. As much as persons who know me, my family will tell you that I've always had a love for politics, but I never saw myself being a politician. But I guess he saw something. He saw someone who could be molded into something in the politics, and I want to thank him for that publicly on air. And when you look at what he has done for Trinidad and Tobago, and I remember him saying at the commissioning of the Lisa Morris Julian Boulevard in O'Meara that governance is like a conveyor belt, in that as the things come for you to treat with, the more you treat with, the more they keep coming.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, if you're old enough to remember the days when everybody used to quarrel about no hospital in Point Fortin, and the people in Point Fortin would be clamoring for a hospital, and
Correct.
mothers would be clamoring that you had to go all the way to San Fernando if there's a critical issue, problems. That's no longer a problem, because Point Fortin has a new hospital. Arima was the same thing, and I think he mentioned it again this weekend. Arima was the same thing. Bacchanal and noise for hospital in Arima.
Correct.
That's no longer a problem. The people in the workers in Sandy Grande focused on their duty in spite of the infrastructure and the surroundings that they had to work in. Sandy Grande has a spanking new hospital complex. Roxborough has whether it is a small hospital or not, it is a hospital. And then you come down to the central block that since 2009 was earmarked as unsafe and should be demolished. And the interesting thing is that 2009, that was said, we had significant revenues in the country between 2010 and 2015, but the government within that period chose to build a hospital in Cuba. Instead of building rebuilding the central block in Port of Spain. And that's just healthcare. And then we talk about other health centers and so on. That's healthcare. And COVID. Listen to me. Just because of COVID, this man's legacy is supposed to be up there with the best.
Yeah.
In terms of the management of COVID, in terms of the saving of lives. Because could you imagine that in other countries you had millions of people dying, which is the population of Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah. It's like the entire country of Trinidad and Tobago.
And his ability to take tough decisions. There are decisions that I see Dr. Ali take. I'm like, I don't know if I could take them decisions. But the ability to take those tough decisions and stand by those decisions. And if they don't materialize the way you want, that's what leadership is about. And so for just COVID, and then you talk about San Fernando to Point Fortin highway, that commute to Point Fortin now has been
cut significantly.
Yeah. You would take what? Sometimes 2-3 hours to get to Point.
Yeah.
You are now getting the Point in just over an hour.
I know from just before Labrie, you take like 7 minutes now.
There you go.
I timed it. 7 minutes.
And then you look at the decision he took to set up a ministry of national service and youth development.
Yeah.
Focusing on our young people and attempting to develop, give a space for our young people to develop, because that's one of the things that he always spoke about. Young people, come to the fore.
Correct.
And take control of your country. And then when you look at Tobago and what he has done for Tobago, Minority Councillor touched on it. And what he was willing to do for Tobago. And because the truth is, if he had the ability to do so, Tobago would have gotten the additional autonomy that
Correct.
we deserve.
Correct.
But he didn't have the power to do that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get the support for the marina. That again, high-paying jobs, a foreign currency earner, didn't get the support for the hotel. But the things that he had the ability to do with his administration, he did for Tobago. We downplay those two fast ferries, you know. We take them for granted.
Yeah.
We do. We take them for granted. But that's commitment to an island. That's commitment to a people. That's understanding the importance of having that connectivity between the two islands. And so a lot of the times with politicians, they don't honor your legacy when you are around or when you are in office.
Correct.
History has a way of validating what you have done. And I look forward to the day that Dr. Rowley can still be with us and see history has validated the decisions that he's made and the things that he has done for Trinidad and Tobago. I thank him for his service. 45 years. He's been working almost as long as I am old. But
Correct.
45 years of service is no mean feat.
Yeah.
And as he said, I think at the convention, he had the option to work in more lucrative places, the oil sector, because he's a geologist by training. And so he could have chosen to go there, but he decided to give up service to Trinidad and Tobago, service to the party. What he has done to revolutionize the party, that's who he is. And I'm thankful that he has the ability, or he had the ability to choose when he left. And he's now going to enjoy his retirement. I know his family is happy to have more of him. But it was a surreal experience yesterday at the swearing in of Prime Minister Stuart Young. It was a surreal experience to hear them refer to Dr. Rowley as former Prime Minister. It was a surreal experience to observe certain movements that took place behind the scenes, to see that transition of power. And I thank him for his service. I thank him for what he has done for Trinidad and Tobago. And I know he may not be fully satisfied with everything, because you are never, there are things that I believe that he wanted to see done that he didn't get to do. But I know he is comfortable and he is satisfied that he gave it his all. And we thank him for his service. I thank him for his service to country and to party.
Senator and Minority Councillor, on that particular note, and I want us to really make this crystal clear, Dr. Rowley would have been able to achieve quite a lot in terms of investment in Tobago. But I also want to highlight the fact that this was amidst serious pushback from the members of the opposition who feel that Tobago should not have gotten the things that we had gotten. Let us remind the public that, and I'm glad that you pointed to the fast ferries. Let us remind the public that it was this opposition leader in the person of Kamala Prasad Dissessa who wrote to the Australian government to try to block the deal for the fast ferries being purchased and try to derail the entire process.
But even before you get to that, moderator, there is the pushback from the opposition members that Tobago gets too much. So the ferries would have cost the state over $1 billion, and the two of them put together. And there was a feeling that was too much for Tobago. There was also a pushback against the airport terminal building in that was too much of an investment
Correct.
for the island. And you see, I don't understand, or I hope that the population of Tobago sees the difference in delivery between the People's Partnership when Kamala Persad-Bissessar was Prime Minister between 2010 to 2015, when the country had significantly more resources to go around. The oil price was at $100 a barrel and so on. So there was money in the country. And what we got in Tobago was chicken feed.
Yeah.
In terms of delivery on the island. But in spite of difficult economic situations, Dr. Rowley took decisions that benefited the island of Tobago and the people of Tobago directly. Because a lot of the times, persons who don't live here say, well, how you could be spending all that money for 60,000 people?
Oh.
Yeah.
That's too much. So you look at it just from an economic standpoint, and you're saying that's not value for money. Because if you break down that $1 billion by 60,000, that's too much money per person. But the reality is, Tobago contributes to the economy of this country. And so when you put an investment of $1 billion in Tobago, it is not just for the Tobago economy, but it is for the economy of the country. And so when the government invests over $1 billion in an airport terminal building, and you couple that with what should have been done with your marina and your and your hotel, then that who receives those benefits? Is it just Tobagonians? That money goes into your consolidated fund. That money goes into the general revenue that the country earns. And so it benefits not only Tobago as the island, but it benefits the country. So this is an investment, like if you're making an investment into Point Fortin, an investment into San Fernando, because the investment there benefits Trinidad and Tobago. And so people need to understand that we've seen the track record of the UNC over the years when it came to Tobago, and what they gave nothing. And when you compare what Dr. Rowley gave in his 2 terms as Prime Minister for the development of this island and what he was willing to give to Tobago, it's chalk and cheese. It cannot be compared between what under Kamala Persad-Bissessar we got and what Dr. Rowley gave us. And it is disheartening. And you quoted the passage of scripture, a prophet has no honor in his own country. But I could tell you that the masses that were at the airport handover on Saturday, I am positive Dr. Rowley felt the love and the admiration from his fellow Tobagonians. And so for the minority that have a problem with him, the man has delivered.
Remember, they killed Christ.
And they asked for Judas?
They asked Barabbas.
Sorry, Barabbas.
They asked for Barabbas.
Yes, Barabbas.
So we that's nothing new.
But Marlon, the UNC has been consistent in terms of how they feel about Tobago. Because not even considering
that
the past
so that
10 years.
everybody could understand what that means.
No.
And please put it in the context of them only 39 seats there.
I'm going
challenging.
to put it into context because we've been talking over the past 10 years. But even prior to that, while Mr. Manning was the Prime Minister, you can find it on Hansard when there was a member of Parliament on the UNC side who publicly indicated that Tobago is getting too much. Why Tobago needs that allocation? What happened to Chaguanas?
Exactly.
And if you compare the population of Chaguanas to the population of Tobago, why was it necessary for Tobago to get the allocation? And it's not only in terms of contribution to the economy and all of that, but if you consider that Tobago is an island and Tobago is
cut off geographically,
cut off or separated from Trinidad by waters. So all the services that are available in Trinidad also have to be available in Tobago.
Every single one.
So from health to education to national security, you name it. So it's a duplication of services where you could jump in a bus or jump in a car or take a maxi and go from Toco to Port of Spain or Point to Port of Spain or wherever that service is. It's not as easy to jump on a boat or jump on a plane to get to Trinidad for those same services. And as a result of our geographic location is also why we receive the allocation that we receive. And then if you also look at it in terms of we are in the election season, we said it when we started that the bell has rung. When you look at when has the UNC, I probably recall one time under Mr. Pandey, but other than that, the UNC does not field candidates in Tobago.
They do love Tobago.
So you will
let us
see,
examine
before it was 41, before it was 41 seats,
36.
it was 36. And the UNC would have fielded candidates in all the other 34 seats and not Tobago.
Correct.
In my lifetime, I only recall probably one election under Basio Pandey where there were 2 Tobago candidates. And we have a similar situation. So they have been consistent every time. So we have a situation again where this election is coming and the UNC has decided that they will not be fielding candidates in Tobago. And we saw a newspaper article where the political leader of the UNC indicated that after the elections, arrangements
can be made
with the TPP
for a coalition.
For a coalition.
Yeah.
Yes, they're willing.
And if that were not true, then the UNC should have also been contesting in Tobago.
Correct. But we didn't even see the TPP leader speak out against it.
Correct. But they often take umbrage in the House when we call the TPP or the UNC friends of the TPP.
Yeah.
But it is clear that they are friends.
Yes.
And we are in an election season. And I want to caution Tobago that 2 seats does not form a government. The TPP is fighting the People's National Movement, the only national party that has fielded candidates in all 41 seats. If you are fighting against the PNM for the 2 Tobago seats, if we take God out of our thoughts and hand this over to the TPP, who are they going to form coalition with to have a government? Clearly it's not the PNM.
Definitely
because
not.
you are showing that you are opposing the PNM right now. What is the other major party? And again, I want to remind Tobagonians and Trinbagonians from 2010 to 2015, all that transpired. If you recall, when the PNM took office in 2015, it was said that we had, a couple days of funds in the Treasury to manage our economy.
Yeah.
If you remember Section 34, remember Audio Gate, remember Live Sport, remember Rishmi Ramnarayan.
Wastewater project in
Wastewater.
Remember the $10 million removal of the fire truck.
You see, we have convenient memory, especially those
and
who like to
talk about corruption, just go back to that era. So Tobagonians, don't forget the past.
Yeah.
Don't take God out of your thoughts and decide to give the TPP an opportunity to form a coalition with the UNC. You are seeing currently how this TPP, I don't even want to call them administration because the TPP was not voted into office. But you are seeing how this group of persons are managing the affairs of the Tobago House of Assembly. We have seen the decline in the economy since coming into office. We have seen decline in major sectors. We have seen people being sent home. And that is the modus operandi of the UNC, you know.
Yeah.
Once the UNC gets into office, they dismiss
everybody
from managers, everybody that is perceived to be PNM. And we have seen the same thing happening when the TPP, when this group came into office. They labeled persons as political hires. They dismantled departments, dismantled, sent home people, placed people on the breadline, didn't renew their contracts. So clearly it's the same playbook that they are operating with from the UNC. What you're seeing in the day, don't take bully faith to look for it in the night. That's my caution.
It's a very somber.
It's a sober conversation. And the minority councillor is totally correct. Because you can't make a government, can't form a government with 2 seats.
With 2 seats.
It's the first.
Be aware.
Is the first to 21. And we've seen the track record. The record is there. We've seen what has transpired in the past. And I honestly don't think there's going to be anything different. I want the TPP to say to the population of Tobago what they are going to be bargaining Tobago for. Because that's
what they've started, what they've already bargained.
Because the truth about it is that everybody knows that the PNM is the PNM.
Yeah.
Everybody knows our 2 standard bearers or 2 candidates in Tobago, Tobago East, Anna Webster Roy, Tobago West, Shamfa Kojulus. Everybody knows that. And everybody knows you vote for these 2 candidates. These 2 candidates are part of a national party.
To form a government.
To form a government. Because if you have 41 candidates in the race, it means then that you will most likely form the government once you win a minimum of 21 seats. Right? Because you have 41. So you already have more than the 21.
Correct.
But when you come into me and say you only have 2, and you need 21 to form the government.
19 more.
So you need 19 more seats. What are you going to do with them 2? Who you want to give them 2 to? And we know you're not giving them 2 to the PNM. Because you're costing the PNM left, right, center, back and front. You want nothing, you have nothing good to say about the PNM. The former Prime Minister was instrumental in delivering an airport terminal. You have nothing good to say about the terminal. You have nothing good to say about the former Prime Minister. Right? So we know you're not going to give those 2 seats if perchance you are successful. You know you're coming to give them to the PNM. So who else are you giving them to? Because I think I said it on this program already. If you don't give them to somebody, they will just end up on the backbench.
They'll just
in
be
the opposition.
Useless.
And all you'll be doing is talking. If and when you get the opportunity to talk. Because the truth of the matter is, you only the real decision making in the governance structure of Trinidad and Tobago takes place at the cabinet level, takes place at the executive level of governance. And so, in order for Tobago to continue to develop, your 2 candidates have to be part of the government. And the PNM has proven over the years. I'm going to complete it. The PNM has proven over the years that when the 2 seats are held by Tobago, 9 out of 10 times, those 2 members of parliament are in the cabinet
where the decisions
of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, where the actual decisions take place, where you could bargain and you could banter and you could fight for something to come in your constituency. When the member of parliament for Tobago East could fight and could vote in favor of a hospital being built in Roxborough, and could fight and vote in favor of a police station in Roxborough and a fire station not being renovated but reconstructed. That's where the decisions are made. And when your member of parliament for Tobago West can fight and vote in favor of an airport terminal building, an expanded wastewater plant, the installation of booster stations and so on, that is where the decisions are made. Not in the parliament. You vote for on legislation, you debate on legislation. But when it comes to policy being made reality, you had to be in the cabinet. And in order for you to be in the cabinet, you had to be in the government. And you had to be part of the 21. So them two that they come into you with, all the others that come into you with the two, whether it is PDP coming with the two, TPP coming with the two, IDA coming with the two, all they could give you is two. They can't give nothing else. But when you put your two with the rest from a national party, you get development. You get policy becoming reality. You get projects and programs that touch your lives, because that's where the decisions are made. And so the minority councillor was right. You had to be mindful of the decisions you make. Don't take bold faith to go and look for things in the night where you could see it in the day. The TPP hand in glove with the United National Congress. Wrapped up, tied up, tangled up with the United National Congress.
So
we know who we are. We are not afraid to say we are. We pay them and we proud. But others will say, we so and so, you know.
Wolf in sheep clothing.
But we have friends elsewhere. You know who our family is. We had to hide who our family is. Our family, all of we were in the same color. Some of them are affiliated with people who have two colors now, yellow and blue. I just said, calling it as it is.
So, Senator, minority councillor, and for those who may not be aware and haven't heard yet, it is now official. The date of the general elections is
28th of April 2025. The polls
So you heard it
open
there.
at
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Your candidates for Tobago East
Only candidates.
is Mrs. Ayana Webster Roy, and the candidate for Tobago West is Ms. Shamfa Kojo Lewis.
Correct.
Your symbol
And we sure
It's the Balizi.
is the ballot.
is the Balize.
Your color is red.
It's red.
And we sure we leader is.
100%.
We sure.
We
What
the
was
people-
ironic, and that's why we're closing with this conversation now, because I don't want to get vexed. What was ironic is that I saw a very prominent post saying that the pickup side is ready for the elections, but to date have not been able to announce
The second.
the candidates.
Yeah, because I smiling, you know.
To date,
You only had two to pick, you know.
only from
And you
two.
can't pick two.
Is either one or the other.
The PNM have 41 to pick.
Ah,
The PNM
And
picked
I
the
selected
41.
their 41 and presented them to the
Presented.
people.
Their 41. You had two to pick. Only two, you know. And you can't pick two. And you want to run government. You want to be part of the government. So
And mind
you
you,
can't pick.
how long now?
And
How
you
long?
can't pick one from two.
And you can't pick one from.
How long now?
It's not nearly 2 months.
How
Or a
long?
month, was it a month?
Almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months. Almost 2 months you had screening.
So we saying to
select
the
one
public,
candidate.
don't be fooled.
Yeah.
Do not be fooled. Don't be hijacked. Don't study foolish rhetoric.
And moderator, I'm hearing the reason why is because some people have thing on people, you know. Some people are thing on people and go mash up the thing if they get picked and all that kind of nonsense. Don't think that's happening in the PNM? The PNM have process with party groups. You submit your letter of consent to be nominated. The persons come. If it's one person, we give the go ahead. We say yes or no. You go through the process. You get screened, and you roll on. Right? If you don't get screened, you say you thank the screening committee for the opportunity, and you fall in line and you work. But a man ain't getting picked. And we hearing that the man want to mash up the whole party if he ain't get picked. What are you running? What are you running? You're holding leaders ransom to get selected as a candidate? We have 2 members of parliament who have proven themselves as members of parliament and government ministers. I remember I went to a conference in Miami, and there was a lady in that conference who could not stop speaking about the member of parliament for Tobago East and her level of commitment and work ethic
to the task.
We have people who could stand up in parliament and represent, and not only in parliament but on an international stage, and represent in
at
cabinet and represent,
every level.
But we taking chance.
You're telling Tobago take a chance?
Taking chance.
After they see what you all do for 4 years?
That's the issue.
After people see what you all do for 4 years.
You have
take a chance?
You have a track record to run on.
Listen.
You have a track record of a road that start after airport. I can't finish. Right? Because you take decisions. Poor decisions you take. Start a project without approvals. Start a project without land acquisition. The road is to nowhere. But you want to become a member of parliament. You have a track record of taking a private plane.
In the company of
wherever, with whoever. Come to Tobago and don't want to account to the people at Tobago.
How it paid for.
How you pay for it. That's your track record.
But
that's your track record.
In addition to that.
And that's the track record. And I'm just singling out one person. Because the man in charge of the group. No, but the man in charge of the group. Because even if you say you ain't sending a man and you're looking for somebody else. But the man, where you come from, have no track record of delivery.
Correct.
4 years you're in Tobago. What you do for the island? What have you done? What industry, what revenue generating industry have you brought? What's your tourism plan? You say you're bringing 100,000 people in the first year, 1 year, 4.
Building 1,000 houses.
What they did is to mash up everything.
Mash up everything.
Mash up the tourism sector. Mash up the agriculture sector. Mash up the quarrying and construction sector. Remember, the days of trucks lining up at the quarry was long gone. Now we have returned to trucks having to go back to the quarry and line
5
up
o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning.
And all sorts of things.
Now, the minority councillor
before you continue, I want folks to remember that when the chief whip in the House of Representatives, MP David Lee, when they asked him about the UNC fielding candidates in Tobago,
what did he say?
MP David Lee said we have Farley in Tobago.
Okay.
Correct.
And so, Nami said.
Correct.
Nami said.
And I want to, before we close off, I want to highlight minority councillor spoke of similarities. This administration has been riddled with court matters, both private in terms of their own selves, and the THA has constantly been brought into disrepute. They used a narrative to try to defame and bring down the reputation of local strong Tobagonians, starting as far back as Tracy Davidson Celestine. The court ruled against them on that. We've seen just up till last week another judgment against another the THA in favor of another contractor who they blacklisted. We saw even this very chief secretary being taken to court and sued, and he losing his case by a very popular media person. We saw up to last week the minority leader in a press conference make a public announcement of litigation against the same settlement secretary who said, watch me work. He building 1,000 homes in 4 years to date.
How many have you seen?
1.5.
Okay. 1.5?
1.5.
So much?
So what is the record of these people? We saw the Secretary of Health preside over one of the greatest debacles in healthcare system in Tobago. We have ambulances that not even fit to run taxi. So what is the track record?
But you want to go and sit down in Parliament?
In Parliament, to embarrass who?
To do what?
Some of them are telling us to remind the people.
Okay.
Your candidates are Mrs. Ayana Webster in the east and Shamfa Kojo Lewis in the west. Your symbol is the Balize. Your party of choice is the People's National Movement. And you vote on April 28, 2025.
Yeah. To
Senator?
continue. Let me tell you something. You see, these two women who are members of Parliament, they've proven themselves. They've proven themselves that they have done the work. They've proven themselves that they are for Tobago, and they have been part of a government that is for Tobago. The work continues, you know. The work continues. Governance is like a conveyor belt. The more you move off the belt, the more things come. I look forward to continued delivery of
these two women.
You see the marina and the hotels? I look forward to those things, because those things, if we think the airport terminal was a game changer, the airport terminal is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of a game changer. Just imagine what a marina will do for the economy of Tobago. High-paying jobs, well-paid jobs in boat repair, in ship repair, in your catering services. Just think about what a marina will do for Tobago. Yeah? And let's just think about what a hotel, 5-star quality, will do for Tobago. It's continued delivery for the development of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago under the People's National Movement.
Folks, we have brought the information to your doorstep, to your tables, to your foot. You can bend over, you could read it, you could pick it up. What you do with it is what is going to be important from here on. We don't just want you to hear what we say tonight. We want you to become active agents to spread the correct information. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, tell your co-worker. Encourage persons to make wise decisions. If they're not sure about the information, tell them tune in next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. where we continue. The election bell has rung, yes, and what we're going to be doing is ramping up and beginning to show a continuance of the great work that the People's National Movement has been doing in Trinidad and Tobago. And we always ask persons to understand that governance is a continuum. You can't get everything done at the same time. However, when you are in contact with and connected to a progressive party, a party that deals with advancement, building human capacity, taking this nation forward, not just in terms of maintenance and management, but also securing the future of the nation's children. And that type of party is the People's National Movement. And so we encourage you to continue following. If this is your first time, call somebody and tell them tune in next week, Tuesday as well. Because we're definitely going to be taking you down to the wire as we continue to encourage persons to vote for the People's National Movement on April 28th, 6 a.m. in the morning. Be right there waiting in the line so that we can send a clear message of development and advancement for Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for watching. Thank you for logging in. I'm Marilyn David, your host, saying good night. Keep praying. Keep this nation in your prayers, And we look forward to meeting up with you next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Goodbye.